What up, folks? Welcome to the SG3 podcast here on YouTube. It is SG, home of the now national champion in basketball, Michigan Wolverines. And today I'm eager to welcome two very special guests. They're considered Gus Johnson and Craig Sager out at VCU, one for his enormous reactions, the other one for his very eccentric style of suits. Now they are the voices of WVCW Radio at Virginia Commonwealth, a school that is known for sending blue bloods home, whether it be Duke or most recently UNC. Please welcome Ben Rekosh and Marcus Leary. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hi there, how you doing?
Yeah. Good to have you guys. Obviously basketball season's over, but now you both are heading into, if I'm not mistaken, this will be next year will be your final year on the mic? Or
Correct. One more year.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys get one more tournament run, and if we're very lucky, maybe a trip to Detroit if things are very much in the balance, if the NIL money works for both of you.
We're hoping for the best.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
My contract hasn't come through yet, so we'll see if I return for next year. I'm still talking to people.
What do you mean by that, Marcus?
I'm just making an NIL joke. I'll be around. I was
about to say, we have Gus Johnson. We can't exactly lose Craig Sager.
That's a high compliment to give.
I got to ask, though, first of all, before we get into other stuff, what's with the suit game, man? I mean, you got all these fancy suits out there. Ben looks like he's about to come in and deliver the next political address. And here you are making a fashion statement.
Yeah, Ben, correct me if I'm not wrong. I feel like before we kind of got here, it was at least our freshman year, 3 years ago at this point, it wasn't all about looking your best. It was about calling a great game. And in my opinion, I can't call a good game without looking also like feeling good. It's kind of coming from like a sports background. If you play good, if you feel good. And so I feel good by being myself and kind of creating that brand around, I want to wear a nice suit, I want to wear a nice tie, maybe paint my nails for a big occasion or put on like a fun jacket. People will know what I look like, and they know it just makes me feel good. And me feeling good makes me call games better. And the one time I dressed down for a game, I called a bad game. So,
Ben, what's your take on all of this?
I think Ryan Odom, he at VCU, kind of had the philosophy. He was special in that he had 5 different uniforms when he played. So the Rams had 3 alternates, of course, for the main home and the main away. But then there was a throwback. There was all black and all white. And he was very much of the philosophy, look good, feel good. Look good, feel good, play good. So that's interesting, like what you're saying from the sports perspective. For me, I think dressing professionally and putting yourself out there in a way that you don't care who sees it. Does my grandmother see it? Yes. Does she approve? Yes. Does a potential employer see it? Yes. Great. Does one of my friends or a classmate see it? That's awesome. So I think professionalism is really, really important, at least to me. And I also think, like, a lot of times for these games, I'm coming from class, I'm eating a quick sandwich, and then I'm out the door going to the Siegel Center. So I don't have a lot of time to do all of this. So I want to be professional, but in the same time practical.
Yeah, and like when you don't have that much time, you're coming out of class, you're maybe eating a quick meal, you're getting to the Siegel Center 2 hours, 90 minutes before a game starts. You don't like have a lot of time to like maybe like have a ritual and like really lock in, get ready for the game. So that ritual of getting your suit on, tying your tie, like dressing for the job you want, not the job you have, is kind of the mindset. Like it gives you a second to slow down before you're thrown headfirst into a high-paced basketball game.
Absolutely. When you're working first of all, for WVCW Radio, they got a protocol. And it goes back to the 2 guys that were running it when I was there. Parker Shoemaker was the leader at that time when I first got there, and then Ben Malkoff was now was the guy running it. And then, his shoes were hard to fill. He had a lot of responsibility, and you guys have definitely stepped your game up in that regard. But you guys are no longer at that yellow building, right? It's a new student media center for you guys?
Absolutely. So last year, the Student Media Center moved from Broad Street from where it had been for over a decade, and now it's over on Cary and Belvedere. A really cool location. There's lots of room. The Commonwealth Times has space. all of the magazines have space. There's meeting rooms. There's a kitchen. There's a podcast studio. So we're still trying to make it feel like home, but it's a really, really nice office.
Yeah, it was at Broad for so many years. That's where I did a lot of the radio shows. There, it was convenient because it was right next to the Siegel Center. You take your equipment down there and then bring it back on time. Plus, there were a lot of food options there in case you had like short time. And there's a few that are still there. I was recently at VCU a couple weeks ago when they were covering the basketball championships for high school, so it was good to go and see it. Unfortunately, yeah, they moved the location of the student media center, so I wasn't able to get there. But you guys are definitely holding down the fort. So you guys came here 3 years ago. Where did you come from? Like, Ben, like, were you from Virginia? Do you guys come from out of state or what?
Absolutely. So I'm from Charlottesville, Virginia, which is about an hour away. And I grew up a UVA sports fan. So football, basketball, baseball, lacrosse, soccer, you name it. I knew everything about every UVA player in every sport all year round. And I always knew I had a passion for this. And I knew that VCU was a great option to sort of fulfill my dreams, right? So when I got here and I heard about all of this stuff and all the programs and everything I can do and all the people I can meet, I was just beyond excited to start learning in the black and gold. So I'm from here. I love sports, but VCU has changed my life.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat with Ben. I'm from Northern Virginia originally.
Which area?
So I'm from Falls Church.
Okay. I know where that is.
Yeah, closer to Annandale. I went to Falls Church High School, and like I mean, just like you don't get into sports journalism if you don't like sports. So I grew up more so rooting for professional sports, NBA, NFL, Bills, Spurs, things like that. But my dad went to Rutgers. I grew up a huge Rutgers fan. Football, basketball, lacrosse. Lacrosse was my main sport. Got into journalism in high school. Wanted to pursue it full time. Didn't know if I wanted to write. Didn't know if I wanted to. I knew I didn't want to write. I knew I didn't want to write for the rest of my life. So at VCU, I tried to find the first broadcast opportunity I could. Went to Sopo Fair, talked to Gabe Ref and Ben Rekosh, and the rest is history.
So you're both journalism majors, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So you guys are aware of the professors that are currently in the program. There's a lot of them that have retired or have since moved on, at least since I graduated in 2020. I'm gonna throw a couple of names out here. Tell me if they're if you recognize any of them. Jeff South, does that ring a bell to you guys?
I've heard the name, but I've never seen him.
Yeah, he was one of the main people who started a lot of the Capitol News Service programs. Alex Bryan?
Yes.
Yeah, she's still there.
Did you guys ever have any of her classes?
Yes, I did. I did early on, but we're sort of on a different track. She does a lot of the digital and writing stuff. Mm-hmm. We're doing more broadcast things, but we interact with each other a lot, those two.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dr. Hill?
Through my work with SPJ, I'm the vice president of the SPJ chapter at VCU. Okay. And she was the advisor, but she doesn't do it anymore. So I have worked pretty closely with her.
You said Dr. Hill. I want to give her a shout out. She's one of the best professors I've had at VCU.
She is.
Yeah, she's just incredibly respectful to all her students. Gives great feedback. Really engaging, and yeah, just an overall amazing professor. So I'm glad you had a good experience too.
She was a newbie when I first walked in when I was there, so it was it was a whole different ball game. Dr. Bajkevich, I think he's the big dog.
Dr. B, yeah,
Dr. B, yep.
Yeah, he's still walking around and patrolling, and he's doing great.
Nice.
Yeah, no, he's around.
Yeah, you guys are about to have him here pretty soon if you guys take insights. So all I gotta say is be ready to work.
Yeah. No, he's cool. I've had him throughout my 4 years here. Or
he's one of the best.
On 4 years.
You've had him.
So now that VCU's season is in the books, granted it was over a long time ago, but when we won the A10 tournament, first of all, winning in DC was pretty cool. That we didn't exactly have to go too far. This year we went to a city that is known for black and gold.
Yeah, that was something.
So some people believe that it was just meant to be that VCU would win in Pittsburgh, but to actually see it come through, and then we found out we're playing North Carolina in the first round. doesn't that, be honest, didn't that feel like, okay, this is a different challenge considering the history of what North Carolina is?
Well, VCU, they didn't wear black and gold in Pittsburgh. They did not show up in a black and gold uniform. I was under the impression, maybe in that first round game against Duquesne, you got a bunch of Pittsburgh fans. Maybe they'll get confused and think we're the Steelers and start cheering for us, but they were wearing their reverse stormtrooper uniforms. But no, it was a different challenge. I think I was kind of nervous going into Duquesne with that game. We win that one, and then you just blow by St. Joe's, kind of do what you want with Dayton, except for the last couple of minutes there. You don't score a basket for 8 minutes. But then it was a different challenge, especially because Pittsburgh is so much closer to Dayton. There were considerably more Dayton fans in Pittsburgh than VCU fans with how far away both of them are. And then with UNC, it was a favorable draw for us location-wise because it was only a 6-hour-ish drive to South Carolina. But then UNC is such a powerhouse. And, I think we got them on a down year, but, still a win.
I think that you kind of alluded to it. To answer your question directly, you kind of alluded to it in your opening today. VCU is not afraid of the powerhouses or the Blue Bloods. You beat Duke with Eric Mayner's shot. You beat Kansas. Now you beat UNC. This is a program that belongs with the best of the best. And even just here in the last 24 hours since, the 2026 season went final with Michigan winning, there have been a number of outlets that have put out preseason top 30 polls, preseason top 25 rankings, things like that. The Rams are mentioned with your UVAs, your Dukes, your Kentuckys, your Michigans. You name the big program, the Rams are on those lists.
And we just got the final AP poll just came out, and VCU is ranked 30th. So, VCU, we belong up there with the best of the best. We can beat the best of the best. And our roster is coming back. So, watch out.
Yeah, the transfer portal's kicking up here. Terrence Hill's going to be the one to watch because he's in there right now. But most of the guys that are leaving, if I'm looking at it, I felt like some of them were going to leave. But Hill was the one, man, if you lose that's a little bit of a rough blow. But the thing that's really concerning is that if the transfer portal, if he goes to a big-name program – granted, he's going to get more attention, but VCU still gets a lot of attention. I think maybe because we're in the A10, if we played in the Big East or some other conference like that, maybe we wouldn't see as much. But then again, if you go to a different conference like that, the Big East is so physical with UConn and St. John's and all that. That's a whole different ballgame. I don't know if we'd have the same level of success as we had right now.
Yeah, no, I 100%. And there's so much draw about going to the Big East and all the opponents that would come to the Siegel Center, all the tickets you could sell, all the jerseys that would be worn in the stands. But the Rams wouldn't have the same amount of dominance as they do now. You talk about 3 A-10 titles in 4 years with 3 different head coaches, something that's never been done. They've never lost in the A-10 semifinals, ever, period. The record in the championship game, it's not glorious, but that speaks to the amount of times that the program has gotten to that Sunday appearance in Pittsburgh, in D.C., in Brooklyn, all across the East Coast. So the dominance would be different, and it would be a different ballgame if the Rams were in the Big East. But they show that there's a top tier of the A-10 with VCU, St. Louis, and Dayton.
Yeah, what he said.
Even last year when we were in DC facing George Mason. Now, granted, that may have been a different year for George Mason. They're known for that 2006 run, but Coach Skins put up some talent here, and they took VCU to the wire in DC. And I remember the radio call. That was not easy to go through. I'm up in a suite with a couple of students that I had just met that day, and we had other alums. We're sitting all over the place. That was probably one of the toughest games we've had to see, whether as an alumni or as a student. I can imagine that's an in-state rival. If they win, that's bragging rights right there in Fairfax from where we're from, Marcus.
Yeah. George Mason, they've been starting to call themselves Nova's team. I don't think anyone in that area respects George Mason. I know I certainly don't. Even before I went to VCU, I had no love for that school. But I even feel like with like the dominance that VCU experiences in the Atlantic 10, I wholly feel like VCU was in the driver's seat for that entire game in DC, except for maybe the last 5 seconds when you have Justin Anderson open on the right wing. That's the only time that I feel like, Mason really was in control of that game. Maybe when they were fighting Christian Furman, but that's about it. Yeah. It's bragging rights, but then you also look at like George Mason, and they were starting to look like they were rising into like that upper echelon of the Atlantic 10 with Dayton and VCU, and now what St. Louis is kind of growing into. But they can't hold on to anybody. I mean, you look at that A10 champion runner-up team, and the only person who returns is Braden O'Connor, and Braden O'Connor plays in like one game all year because he gets hurt. And then now this year you've got Riley Allensbach. He's hitting the portal. Corey Mency. I think Jahari Long might have said he was staying, but you're losing most of your starting lineup year after year. And you look at the Instagram posts, they're like putting out like 5, 6 to 8 posts about Giving Day because they're so short on money. I think that's like VCU, Dayton, and St. Louis. They're able to pay these guys, and that's why we're able to stay so in the headlines.
It's mostly been VCU and Dayton, especially since going back to when I started, because I came to VCU in 2016. This August will be 10 years since I first started, and I can recall Dayton was that thorn there. Rhode Island had a couple of years with Dan Hurley. We just saw the national championship, what he was doing with UConn for a 2-year stretch with, I'm going to be honest here, Coach Rhodes during that stretch, that was not good. Yep. Dan Hurley was kicking everybody's butt with Rhode Island. And then Obi Toppin at Dayton, that was as good as a team as anyone. So frankly, VCU, for at least for a while, was not exactly as good as they are now. And the NIL, let's be fair, most of the money is being poured into the men's basketball program. But in terms of getting people in transfer portal, that's going to be tough because the big name schools can pay more money, but we can pay enough just to have a starting lineup. Hey, you may not get the money, but you get a start right here.
Yeah, you brought up the name Terrence Hill Jr., and he had one of the greatest seasons in program history. He capped it off with a 34-point performance in the tournament, a game winner against North Carolina, truly one of the best players to ever don the Rams number 6. But you can't fault a guy in this era of college athletics for going out and seeing if he can earn what he deserves, right? He has earned every single penny. If that's what it's going to take, if that's why, if that's his motive for moving on, good for him. I will not fault him for that.
And when you talk about earning what you deserve, it's not always with the paycheck that comes with going to a bigger name school. Like Luke Bamboy going to Texas Tech last year. Yeah, it could have been about money, but it's also about like image. Like how much more often is his name being said on national television because he plays for the Red Raiders than when he played with the Rams. The same thing with Terrence Hill. Like the world knows who Terrence Hill Jr. is now because of that win over UNC. But if he goes to a top 25, top 15 program, that's more notoriety. That's more of a possibility that you wind up in the NBA one day because people know who you are. And sure, a scout's going to find talent no matter where you play, but you're more likely for a scout to know who you are if you're playing against harder opponents.
And then on the flip side too, the community and the resources that VCU has here in Richmond, it's 1 to none, right? VCU is a special place. What Phil Martelli Jr. has built in just 1 year here is incredible. And the ability of him to bring back the first conference rookie of the year for the program since 2003 in Nick Lewis, to bring back a hometown hero, somebody that's won 2 conference titles in Brandon Jennings, Lazar Djokovic, an all A10 first team member. You go down the line, Ahmad Noel, Jordan Tillery, Tyrell Ward, all contributors throughout the season. That in itself is insanely impressive. And then the portal opened today. We'll see what happens with that, but I am beyond excited for what year 2 of the Martelli era could look like.
You guys came in the first year. You were freshmen when Ryan Odom first came in. Is that right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so you didn't go through the Rhodes experience then. No. All right, so you missed the Will Wade whole drama with that situation. That wasn't exactly fun. And then the Rose was one thing. So you got 2 years of Ryan Odom. Now you're going to get it for sure 2 years of Phil Martelli. So you'll be able to see what the second year is going to be about. He's got some new players coming in already in terms of commits. You got 2 of them, I think, that are going to end up making some significant contributions. But I think we all know whoever they get they got to get some people in the portal. Mm-hmm. Because if Hill goes and whoever else is going to the portal is gone, that's 4 roster spots right now that's gone, and they will need to replace them some way, somehow. You can't have 4 walk-ons.
Yeah. Well, and especially you talked about the guys that are coming in, the freshmen. Colin Ross is probably going to make he might not start on day 1, but he's going to make an impact on November 3rd or November 2nd, no matter whenever that game is. He's going to be in that rotation. He's a big guy. He can play that stretch 4, stretch 5 spot. Sammy Jackson, an outstanding guy. Like, he's going to could fill that Jadrian Tracy spot on the lineup. So you've got 2 guys coming in right there. But then if you want a bit more of a veteran presence, because the oldest guy on your team, barring any like grad transfers, is going to be Michael Bell and Lazar Djokovic. Like, if you're not as young as you were last year, and you've got Brandon Jennings, who's going to be a junior. You're going to have Ahmad Noel, who's going to be a junior. You've got these older guys. So you don't need to go and prioritize like graduate leaders, because you have guys that can now lead from that experience standpoint. So you can just purely go find scorers and find people that you can build up, like you did with Terrence, like you're going to do with Jordan Tillery and do with Ahmad Noel.
Exactly. And you don't exactly need the big names, but some people have said you want to go like the overseas guys, like what Illinois did. They went all European guys from the east side of the world. Some teams have got the South Sudan Giants coming in to their location. San Diego State has these big dogs that are like 7'1". Heck, Michigan had to do them with 7'3". I don't know if VCU is going to get a guy that's like 7 feet tall or something like that, but just imagine if we were to get something like that, maybe if not 1 or 2 of them, how that would drastically change things for the program. Martelli could utilize more of an inside presence, or, hey, just lob them up there and throw them down. You never know. If VCU can land something like that, forget just the A-10 in the first round, maybe a run to the Sweet 16 would be possible if you have that kind of talent. We can't get ahead of ourselves, but that's not unreasonable to think about.
Well, I think you make a good point, and that's one of the reasons that retaining Lazar Djokovic was not only really important, but it was really impressive that they were able to do it, because big men like him and versatile big men, that's the hottest commodity in the portal right now. You can't find them very often. And Djokovic, he knows the system. He has coaches that trust him and have confidence in him. He's not your 7'3" Adai Mara or your Zvonimir Visic or anybody like that, but he's so talented. And when we saw he had a game in the season, he had a little turnaround fadeaway to basically win it for the Rams. We didn't know he had that in his bag. Yeah. So that was his skill level is what separates him apart, and retaining a first-team all-conference player anytime you're able to do it is unbelievable. But to have it at that position, that just makes it much more impactful.
And when you continue to talk about the portal, I think before this season and last offseason, I was starting to say, like, VCU has a true 5. But as the season went on, Lazar Djokovic is not your 5-man, if you ask me. He's a guy that can really play that stretch 4 position really well. But he gets bullied down low by bigger guys, like even in the Atlantic 10, like Frank Mitchell. We saw him against Henry Visar or Tomislav Visic in the tournament. He was getting bullied down low because he's just not a true 5. Like, he's big and he's tall, but he doesn't have that like dominance in the paint that you would expect from your true 5-man. And maybe that's what one more year of development from, Roos gets you. But if I'm the Martelli staff, I'm trying to go and find like a 5-man that maybe can do some bullying in the paint, and maybe not the quickest guy, but the maybe a little stronger.
There are some people out there in the portal. I don't have the exact names on my list right now, but there's a guy from Alabama that just moved in there, but he's a Detroit native, and in all likelihood, he may end up going to Michigan or Michigan State. But this whole issue with tampering, that's been the headlines, especially after we had a national champion that just won with 5 transfers in their starting lineup. People are complaining about the transfer portal. I mean, we don't essentially have to worry too much because we're not exactly getting the 5 stars. We're just having trouble retaining some of our guys. To that, you say what?
I'd say that we're not getting 5 stars, but with the idea of having trouble retaining our guys they're not coming in with that 5-star talent, but they're leaving VCU with the talent of someone who was a 5-star coming into college. And so that's where the issue arises for me. And I've had this conversation before. It's like the transfer portal, entering the portal, there's absolutely no downside for an athlete. You're either going to go find a better situation or find out that you're in your best situation. There's nothing there is no downside unless the coach asks you to leave. On the flip side of things, you have what the Norfolk State coach was talking about last year, saying I feel like we're just a really, really good JUCO program because we're drafting these really solid guys out of high school. We're developing them into adept college basketball players, and then we're losing them. VCU kind of in that same boat last year. They ended up retaining a lot of their guys that weren't graduating, and they're doing a good job of that this year. And so I think it's hard to say we're having a hard time retaining some of our guys. And the guys that are leaving are Obi Okafor, a walk-on who's played 5 minutes in his career, Christian Furman, who was not really with the team last year. And the big name that you're having trouble losing is Terrence Hill, but you're still retaining Nick Lewis, who was the 57th ranked guy out of high school. You've got Brandon Jennings, who loves the city. Lazar Djokovic, a first all-team Atlantic 10 guy. I would argue that we're not having a hard time retaining. We're just having a hard time retaining the best guy.
That's fair. So as we look forward to what's coming next, obviously next year is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, the tournament's going to be in Brooklyn next year, right?
That's correct. 2027 and 2028.
They've always seemed to love that Brooklyn location. They never really, at least in the past, they haven't really wanted to leave there. Coming to DC was rare. Because that's normally where the A10's been held, if not in the Carolinas. So ACC's been in the Carolinas. Very rare. Does the A10 get to come there? So regardless, we're going to end up in Brooklyn. Have you guys been to Brooklyn before?
Yeah, Brooklyn. I went to Brooklyn freshman year. That was the game. I don't know if you remember it. VCU played against Duquesne in the finals. The Rams were the 5. The Rams were the 5 seed in that tournament, so it was kind of a miraculous run to get to that point. They were just on the bubble there. Probably wouldn't have made it. Didn't make it, obviously. Made the NIT and had a little bit of a run there. But the milestone there was – or not the milestone, the monument was the confetti falling in the second half before the game was even over.
Oh, my God. I remember that.
I'll never forget that.
And funny enough, it was red, white, and blue.
Mm-hmm.
What think that may have been a bad omen that Duquesne's colors were coming down on it?
I think they just pressed the wrong button.
Well, Cartoon Network had issues like that back in the day with their, I think it was the Hall of Game Awards or something like that on television. My little cousin had shown me a clip, it's exactly what it was back in 2010. It's yo, man, at that point I was trying to get into middle school and survive. But anyway, who knows at this point? And was basketball your main love for both of you guys? Did you just come to VCU for the basketball broadcast, or what led you to VCU?
No, so I came to VCU because my brother came here. Football is and always will be the sport that I love the most. For me, my ranking in terms of enjoyment of watching is football, basketball, and lacrosse. But lacrosse and football have always been my 2 sports. I didn't know a whole lot about. I knew about basketball. I played when I was a kid, but college basketball and the net ranking system and Ken Pom and Evan Mirakawa, that was all new to me once I met Ben. I started learning about that last year, freshman year. But no, I was drawn to VCU, one, because Richmond is just a lovely area. My brother came here. I knew I liked VCU. And because I've always loved sports, I knew that VCU was a perennially very good team in college basketball, and I didn't want to go to a school that had bad athletics by any means. So it all worked out, and now I love basketball with all my heart. But I will admit that when VCU lost in the round of 32, I just stopped. I stopped watching college basketball. I watched the national championship last night. I watched UConn. I watched UConn and Illinois, but that's about it after VCU lost.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite. I grew up a diehard college basketball fan. I love college sports more than anything else in the whole world. I much prefer college athletics to professional athletics. At least right now, the passion that's in there, the stake that you have in it, it's unprecedented. There's nothing else like it in this world. And I have been around college basketball. I said I'm from Charlottesville. I grew up a big UVA fan, so I know a lot about college basketball because that's what the thing was in Charlottesville. 2019 national champions.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
ACC champions, all that stuff. So I love college basketball. With that being said, I also knew a lot about VCU. I was aware of the significance of the 2011 team. I was aware of Will Wade's antics, and I went to a couple of games in the Mike Rhodes era because it's only an hour away from me.
Yep.
So I just fell in love with it immediately so much more as soon as I got here because I was able to be connected to this thing that I appreciate so much. And there's so many great things that make this sport what it is. But it's just the people, and being around it every day has been so special to me. But it's not just basketball either. I fall in love with VCU baseball, VCU lacrosse, anything VCU.
Men's club lacrosse.
I've kind of dove in head first.
Yeah, that national championship for UVA. I was a junior like you guys at the time. We had a lot of people here that were actually celebrating that because that's the first time in a while that this state had done something. I can imagine the reaction in Charlottesville. Were you at UVA? Did you go to the watch party or were you just watching at home?
No, I just watched it in my basement. I'll try to see what I remember from that day. I remember I was in 8th grade, so everybody at school was just talking about it non-stop, even the people that didn't like basketball. And that's something I saw here in Richmond over the last couple weeks after VCU beat North Carolina. Even the people that don't like basketball have so much pride for their school, their community, and the people that help build it up.
Yeah, that was one of the craziest things, especially after the year before losing to UMBC. That was not fun, but yeah, I can imagine the love for UVA. Even their football stadium. When I was a senior in high school, we played a championship game on that field against Chesapeake School. I don't know if you've ever heard of those guys. Oscar Smith. Does that ring a bell to you guys? Marcus, what's with the thumbs down?
They're too good. They're too good at football. At least they were. I don't think they're that good anymore. But I remember.
You talking about they just won states, bro? I think my school was the only one to consistently beat them.
Where did you go?
Westfield.
No, yeah, y'all were good.
Yeah,
we were good in 2016.
What?
Fall Church was good in 2016.
Yeah, 2015 is when was the championship year for us. Yeah. But I graduated in 16, so I got a chance to see Oscar Smith up and close. And they came here recently to Nova against Madison.
They're really good. They're fun.
That's the thing. But then there's now the St. James Academy. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
I used to play lacrosse there.
Yeah, but I'm saying the St. James, they had a scandal with the whole Hayfield situation.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I was just hearing that from one of my old teachers when I went back to when I went back to go visit school a couple weeks ago. I was hearing all about all that from some teachers.
Yeah, St. James football scandal, that was something. I don't mean to surprise you guys, but you're talking to the guy who actually exposed it.
Oh, yeah. Are you up in Nova?
Yeah, I actually am. I'm the one. I write for the Fairfax Times.
Awesome. Okay.
So that was the newspaper that ultimately exposed that scandal.
Awesome. That's
so cool. that was one hell of a run, but yeah. So they pluck it out, and then we'll see what happens. But for you guys, you're going into your senior year now. You're about to graduate next spring, if I'm not mistaken. Not this one, the following spring.
Yes, the spring.
Well, what's your plans for the next year for both of you? Like, do you guys plan on going into the sports broadcasting right after college? You guys got other plans going on for you, or you're just undecided at the moment?
I mean, I don't have like a set plan. I know that I got to get through WVCW first. That's still going to be priority number one. I've already got some ideas for improving the broadcast next year, but it's going to be a lighter class load for me, so I'm going to be able to like work on some personal projects on that front. But going into sports broadcasting, whether it's local news with 6 or 8 or 12, I know 6 has an 8 have a pretty good sports department. Obviously, I've got working on trying to get actually posting my podcast again. It's all for me. We've built some pretty good connections over the past 3 years. I've built a pretty good resume over the last 3 years that I could probably go get a job, hopefully in the area, or just working in sports. It's just broadcasting, radio, television, board operator, production, working for myself. Just working in sports is my plan.
Mm-hmm. You're asking the $1 million question that everyone wants to know the answer to. What's next?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a firm answer for you. I'll tell you.
That's fine.
I'll tell you a story real quick. I tell this a lot of times whenever somebody asks me this sort of question. There comes a time in every young boy's life when they realize they are not going to make Major League Baseball. They won't be a Yankee when they grow up, or they won't play professional football for the Cowboys, or they won't dunk on LeBron for the Lakers, right? There comes a time where every little kid realizes that his or her dream is not going to come true of being a professional athlete.
I haven't hit that point yet. I still think I can do it.
For me, that came to, for everybody, it's different. I don't know the exact day. It was somewhere in middle school or high school, and I realized I need to figure out what I want to do. I knew that I always had a passion for sports, and somehow I wanted to stay connected to that, whether it be in marketing, which I enjoy, or in content, or in statistical keeping, or in writing, or in sales, or anything like that. I don't know what it wanted to be, but I knew I had a passion for sports. I was really good at it, and I was kind of smart. And somehow it's led me to this path of sports media. So I don't know where that journey will end up, but I do know that I sure as hell hope that it'll be in the realm of sports media.
Well, obviously everyone has you choose your own path. So, but other than that, guys, I know we could go on for a while, but you guys have obviously been great, and I'm really proud to say that you guys are going to be soon WVCW alums. I think I speak on behalf of everybody who's been part of it, that you two got they got shoes to fill for you two fellas. I don't know what's going to happen. Do you guys have any proteges coming up the mic that eventually will take over for you, or you're going to worry about that later on?
That's the big project for next year. We're trying to figure out who at VCU has a passion for this like we do and is pretty good at it and is ready to learn. So much like yourself and everybody else that came before us. And I told you this over text. This is a legacy that we're trying to build. It's a legacy that you had the foundation of, that Aaron Brunk really solidified in the Final Four era, in the Shaka Smart era. My now friend Adam Cheek, Ben Malakoff, Jason Bowman.
Yes, sir.
Samuel Wolf, Gabe Aref. There have been so many people to come through the Student Media Center at VCU, and to now be a part of this legacy, it's really cool. And we are very, very thankful for everything that everybody else has built. We wouldn't be able to be in this position without the growth of what WVCW has become over the last 2 decades.
Absolutely. We got Adam. He's mentioned Adam Cheek was one of them. Ben Malakoff, Jason Bowman, Brandon Schillingford, Parker Shoemaker, Ryan Yurka, yours truly. Who's there? Jackson Krug. I mean, the list goes on and on. Sean Boyce was another guy on the mic there. Who's the guy? Jacob Sexton, one of the best voices in the business, and his brother Jacob, what they were able to do calling games here. The amount of people that have worked at WVCW least during my time frame and moving forward. Noah Fleischman, who's one of the better beat writers out in the business, he started down there as well. The amount of people that have really represented us, and you guys will definitely be part of that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. The question is who takes over now? I mean, we have to obviously find that, and obviously you guys have a lot going on with you. So, just don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be wrapping up here just shortly. You'll see Ben and Marcus on their social media. You can catch them on WVCW Radio. Guys, it has been an honor, so stay put for just one moment. For all of you out there watching, thank you so much. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll try to get more people up here to do interviews. We may get some more people from VCU to talk about this great run. But again, this is the SG3 show. It's Ben and Marcus. We'll see you guys next time. Peace and love.